people who have a Blue Moon ukulele, particularly concert size, and feel competent to repair the problems themselves, I've provided an instruction video here. The first thing you might notice about your Blue Moon ukulele as you've purchased it will be that the action is far too high to play and the intonation is far from perfect. If you follow my instructions, you should be able to, if you are competent with using tools such as drills, be able to fix and remedy this problem. This is the completed job on the bridge and the saddle. I actually removed the original saddle that was on it, and I used an old classical guitar saddle, but you could use the original saddle. I've had to cut string guides very deeply into this saddle using my hobby drill, and also you can see I've cut 4 string guides going along the bridge here for each string, i.e. the top string here, the next one, that's the C, the E and the A, and that's because in order to make this ukulele playable, the action needed to be brought down considerably to keep it at full concert pitch. Not only that, when I removed the strings, I also used a hobby drill to cut into the string guides here, and I used an angled cut about 45 degrees down on each one, not going all the way down on each one, but certainly cutting into the hardwood here on this bridge, leaving enough space underneath so that the strings, which are in knots, would be held underneath each one. If you don't perform this type of cut on this ukulele, then you will not be able to lower the action sufficiently. As you can see here, if you look at the actual action, that is the actual height of the strings at full concert pitch along this ukulele, it's fully playable, and also the intonation is much improved, although not perfect. These ukuleles, I believed, used hardwoods such as mahogany, teak, and the fretboard is a beautiful, very thick chunk of rosewood, and you can see that they are very well made. It's not a solid top, and the tuners are open and geared, but overall, with these improvements that can be made with a simple drill, a hobby drill, you should be able to make your Blue Moon playable. The tools you'll need are a hobby drill, and these come with power packs, and also you'll find that you have to put a small drill bit here. You can see that the drill bit I used here, and to fit them in they usually have a button. You press the button, unscrew this part of the drill bit here, and you'll find that the drill bits themselves have a special metal part here, and you must use the correct sized one. You see there's a tiny hole in there. This drill bit here then fits into that hole very tightly and snugly right down to the bottom. Okay, that goes into the guide on the hobby drill there, flush. You put the guide over here, you press the button there, there's a button there, you press the button here, you screw it on, this screw on as tight as you can, hand tight that is. Okay, now that's ready for use. These have a variable speed on them, and you obviously have them turned off when it's plugged into the mains. And the most important thing, of course, is you must have a pair of these safety glasses. Never do any work without your safety glasses. And the other part that needs adjusting on the Blue Moon ukulele is you'll find here the top white part here, which is called the nut. Here you'll find as the strings go into the nut on the purchased instrument, these are far too high, and you'll find that the action here when it comes to new is far too high. And to fix that I used a surgical blade. You can put a bit of tape around, you can wrap some tape around the bottom end of the blade here, and be careful you know which end is the sharp end of the blade here. And basically the idea was, by removing all the strings on the instrument, I was able to take incrementally take something out of each of these string guides. You can actually buy a proper tool to do this, which is, they sell them for guitars, called nut files. In my case I felt confident enough to use one of these surgical blades with some tape wrapped around the part where the blade would fit in, and I incrementally did it very, very gradually on each one until I was happy with the action on each string by lowering it right down to make it playable. When I used the drill, I put I removed all the strings and I put some white masking tape all around the area in case my drill bit slipped. So I was basically left with just this bridge, took the saddle out, and I decided how much I wanted to take out. You can see I've taken out on each string no more than, say, a couple of millimeters deep for each string to allow them. And the idea is the string doesn't touch inside here, it's held, but I needed to have that much of relief. The strings don't touch these string guides. I decided to put cuts myself into this saddle. You might decide you might want to just file your saddle right down underneath the saddle by removing the saddle, but in my case I thought I'd experiment with just making cuts in the saddle itself. And basically, with wearing my safety glasses, the idea is using this drill bit here, you need to hold. I basically held very carefully the drill, guided the drill along here, and obviously you can go fairly horizontally without the strings there. And similarly, with the saddle in place, I was able to drill exactly along a line there. Once that was in place, going into the string guide itself, the third part was going where the strings go, and of course with the strings not there, I was able to go down, as I say, about a 45-degree angle, not all the way to the bottom, but certainly to about sort of halfway down at a 45-degree angle. So that's the way I did it. I just did it very incrementally. I did it slowly on each one, a little bit at a time. Where any bits of chips fell out, a little bit of wood chipped here off the bridge, and I just put some repair glue over the area there because I took a little bit off there on the drill. Once I was satisfied I'd taken enough off, put the strings back on, then knotted at the end, and then fed them through the nut and onto the tuners, and then slowly tuned each one up. It's quite laborious to do this with the ukulele because it takes quite a lot of time to get them up to concert pitch. Once you've done that, it won't hold concert pitch. It'll take some time before the instrument stabilizes, but as soon as it did, I found the action to be superbly much lower, and I had no fret buzz issues or anything on this. Of course, if you've taken too much off the saddle, then you might get a bit of fret buzz, and you might have to try using another saddle or add a little shimmy underneath the saddle. But failing having to have put into an instrument shop to be repaired professionally, if you feel competent to use these power tools and wearing your safety glasses, and you already are familiar with using these hobby drills, then this could be a job that you could complete yourself. Fixing the action on the Blue Moon ukulele involved a number of projects. The first thing I did was that I cut 4 string guides into the saddle. That may help you the first thing you can do. Obviously, if you can remove the saddle and sand underneath it, that's one possibility. There's only so far you can go with that. The next thing I did was I cut deeper nut guides. That's the nut of the ukulele at the top. So there's 2 things you could do. You could cut deeper nut guides and either remove the saddle and sand it underneath it, or cut guides for the saddle. That's what I did. I cut guides for a saddle. I found that didn't bring the action down enough, so I then cut 4 string guides to the front of the bridge. That's in front of the saddle here. You can see where the string guides there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That didn't lower the action quite enough, so with the strings removed, I then used the hobby drill to cut into these actual string guides here to 45-degree angle, not quite to the bottom of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, putting masking tape all around. Then put the strings back on, making sure there's enough space for them to fit underneath there with their knots on, and then through the deepened guides here, which I cut out using a little knife. You can use nut files for that. And then onto the open geared machine heads. The new improved ukulele suddenly sprang into action, and all frets could be accessed easily. These ukuleles, I believe, were made with mahogany. They have a rosewood fretboard and other hardwoods, possibly teak. But with the improvements to the ukulele, it's now playable. The Blue Moon ukulele, once repaired, becomes playable and much more enjoyable with the new strap fitted and also the action sorted out at the nut, the bridge and the saddle. Suddenly the actual fretboard becomes playable for the first time. The first improvement is to buy one of these little end pins here to hold on a strap, and I put this exactly where, as you can see, where the wood meets here around the bout or the main body of the ukulele here. There's a little join there, and basically I used a drill, one of these craft drills which I'll show you later, and then a good Phillips screwdriver, one which gives you a good torque to drive this screw in, and they usually come with a washer underneath them, which I'll show you. They have a washer, as you can see, that fits them flush to the body of your ukulele. Then purchase yourself a strap. These are quite inexpensive, and make sure you fit the strap between the actual tuners here, not here, because then you'll not get access to your ukulele. And you can use either, some of them come with their own straps, or boot straps would do for the job. And you can see I've wrapped it around at least twice and tied it off nicely. You don't want your ukulele falling off. And the other side of the strap, these are also used for guitars as well, just fits over neatly over this pin here. Takes some putting on, but then so it should, because then it's not supposed to come off. And then it's just a question of adjusting the ukulele so it's comfortable. And I particularly find for female players of the instrument that this will give you the best purchase on the equipment, as in the best hold on the instrument to make it playable. In order to make a ukulele comfortable to play when you're sitting down, it might be essential to have the strap fitted on your ukulele. Then you can grip it however is comfortable for you, whatever strumming pattern or type you use, whether you're used to strumming it over, say, the 12th fret here, or whatever style you use, finger picking or picking out single notes. And the idea about the strap here is that you can adjust its length so that you can have the instrument angled up however you like to play it, whether it's higher up or lower down. But to be comfortable to play the instrument allows you to get much more purchase onto the fretboard, and also easily to move around from one chord to another, whatever particular ukulele chords you're playing. So that's the first thing that makes the Blue Moon much more playable.